everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Needs More Drums and a brand new City Skylines series. It's kind of our last hurrah farewell to the game before we dive into City Skylines 2 in a couple months. Now, this is a little bit different city than I've built in the past. I'm really excited for this. The goal is going to be for us to build a metropolis from scratch. And yes, I use the word metropolis because we're going to actually start with 0 people and build the city up to the 100,000 population metropolis progression milestone that's in the game. And I've never played through all the milestones before. I think this is the perfect opportunity to do it. It'll really give us a chance to, actually play the game and, make use of everything in the game that is available to us. But this is going to be a little bit of a different city, though. We're not just going to start zoning like crazy and rapidly, just creating urban sprawl everywhere to try to get to 100,000 people. This is going to have a purpose. The city's going to have a history. It's going to have a story. And, everything is going to function. Everything is going to be placed for a reason. And I'm just really excited to kind of take some time with this. And if it goes, a couple months go by and City Skylines 2 comes out and we still, this isn't done yet, I mean, so be it. I still want to get it done. And before I actually, really spend time in City Skylines 2, I'd like to see this kind of come to fruition and be completed. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Turn on that notification bell because we got some fun videos coming and I'm really, really excited for this series. So let's go ahead, jump in, get started with the rest of the video. All right, everybody, welcome to the region of Rusinskiy. So Rusinskiy is a region that in one day and age in the past was divided by this natural landmark, which seems to be some sort of river and has now been, converted into sort of a train line that connects to some additional regions. But in the past, the north was controlled by the Soviet Union and the south controlled by Poland. But what has happened here is that upon the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Poland reclaimed this northern part, but this area has not lost its heritage. There is going to be a lot of Soviet-inspired architecture and urban development, whereas down here we might see a little bit of more of some general urban trends with a little bit more urban sprawl, a little bit more European suburbia, whereas in the northern region it's going to be a lot more condensed cities, not a whole lot of suburbs or urban sprawl. And I understand, yes, Poland did have a heavy Eastern European Soviet influence back in the day, but a lot of areas of Europe, have lended their influence to this area, and we're going to be taking inspiration from a few areas of Europe and not limiting ourselves to just the heavily USSR inspired urban planning and design. And so the reason for the name is it's actually derived from my last name. So the name for the region is Rusinskiy. My last name is Rusin. I'm a real person. I'm sure you guys have seen in my other videos. I've always, I don't care if y'all know who I am. I do exist, and yeah. But anyway, so we like to think that our family heritage goes back to Poland, and our last name of Rusin is actually derived from a longer Polish name or some other kind of Eastern European name of Rusinskiy. So that's just kind of how I came up with this name for the region, and I think it's very fitting. And again, we're not going to build a 1-to-1 scale of Poland or Russia. With that in mind, I want to take inspiration from those areas and kind of the urban design of these compact cities in the north where there's not a lot of suburban sprawl. There's more housing blocks and industrial complexes and things like that. Everything is kind of built for a purpose. Whereas down here in the south, we have a little bit more land to work with. I want to kind of sprawl out some suburbs, maybe a little bit more, but nothing crazy like in the States. We're not going to have just grids for days. This is going to be in interesting build, and I'm really, really excited. So first things first, what is this map? This is the name of it, and the link is down below in the description. I'm gonna butcher the name, so I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it, but it is by Teddy Radko. If you've seen my Percussion series a little while ago, he's the creator of that map as well. And this one, I believe, is a replica of a region in Norway. And so I really, really like what he's done with this. I like how he's kind of laid some roads, segmented some farmlands here, and kind of has given us a nice canvas to, create some unique designs. We're not going to be confined to any grids, and I kind of like to use these for reference as well, and slowly kind of, reclaim areas of this land for the city as we progress. And so with this series, what I want to do too is I want to begin by not just building one city, but actually with 3. And the reason that I want to do that is because I want to kind of grow each city independently, and I want, each city to kind of have its own unique character in a way. If not with urban design, at least with kind of what the city is known for, especially with I love building out industry. And so, making each city kind of have its own means of export and its own, big production chain that it's known for. I think that really helps, bring in some money and kind of gives people a reason to go there, places to work, things like that. So I think that's a realistic approach to it, and I'm really excited to do that. So in this episode, what I want to do is get started by laying the groundwork for those 3 cities, and then setting up some basic infrastructure, power, water, things like that you typically do in a first episode, because I think those things are important and I think they're fascinating. So let's go ahead and jump in and actually get started with the build. All right, so the first thing that I want to do is kind of get started with our 2 southern cities over here. And so this is kind of set up to be a more densely populated area, and there's a little bit better road infrastructure here. So I think I'm actually gonna start one of the cities down here, and then I'm gonna have the other one begin probably over here, since this is, a nice 4-way intersection. There's a highway off ramp right here. I feel like that's probably not a bad spot. So for this one down here, I'm gonna primarily have this area here be I'm thinking, with some of the European buildings, but obviously we can't really do that right now because we don't have any districts unlocked, so we can't actually, change any of the building styles. But what I can do is kind of just lay some of the groundwork for some of these roads, and I might even kind of expand this out a little bit, since there's probably going to be a little bit of urban sprawl. So I'm actually going to kind of bring it out maybe to here for now. And I'm placing on that first road. We've unlocked our dirt road, so I'm actually kind of going to just go ahead and, in the interest of saving money, I'm going to lay out just some dirt roads here so we can actually get a sense of kind of where things need to go. I think this may make like some sort of nice park once we get everything a little bit more laid out properly. Just kind of have this follow along the coast. And then so this area I anticipate being a little bit more of a, not so much of a grid system, but this area here I kind of want to have a little bit more of a grid, since its land layout's a little bit more square. We could do something here that's a little bit more planned out, a little more strategic. And the reason that I'm not doing anything with this area is because I don't want to zone out. I'm not able to zone out any high density buildings, and I want to wait till I can get those, European styles to be able to make that look the way I want it to. So we're going to just leave that for now, just like that. And then let's transition over to our next area. So I'm thinking we have this nice little tree line here. Maybe I can do something that kind of follows that. Let's bring it along that way. Then I'm thinking, this one might be not as dense, but we can have a little bit of some suburban sprawl happening here. And so this will kind of serve as like the initial border for this city. And I'm thinking, maybe here can be sort of a more dense type of commercial district. Then we'll have a residential district kind of over here. And again, maybe a little bit more suburban sprawl in this area right here. All right, so I'm liking these layouts for now for these couple of cities. Very early start, but gives us some room to work with. And then just for the heck of it, I think I'll lay out at least part of the city up here. And I'm thinking that I want to put this one probably right here. This will give us some room to expand. Plus, this is kind of, I assume this will turn into some kind of main road, and we'll probably have some sort of even a highway coming around this way. So at some point, so I feel like this would be a good spot to lay this one out. And since this one's going to be a little bit more of our kind of, old Russian Soviet inspired city, I figured that this one will have a little bit more of a planned out layout. So we can kind of come this way with it. And we'll have sort of a pretty steadfast grid system for this part. And, some of the surrounding area will be mainly industry and agriculture of some sort. So we'll just start with this for now. All right, in the interest of not spending all of our money, we'll leave that for now. And so, so we have the beginning of 3 of our cities at the moment. And now what I want to do is set up some infrastructure. So obviously we need some power and water. So the first thing we're going to put down is probably, we have this new advanced coal plant, and it's a little bit more expensive, and it actually is going to cost all of our money. And I'm wondering if I can get a loan out, which I can't yet. I need 320 people. All right, so we're going to have to really cut some corners for now. I'm thinking maybe, can we get away with just, you know what we can do is we can kind of use a little bit of a cheat here in a way, and use one of these power substations. So as long as we get one city up and running and just get a few people in here, then we can actually access some additional loans and funds and things. So I think the first city that I'm going to begin with is going to be, this is going to be kind of our main city down here on the coast. So I think I'm going to start with this one for now. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make sort of a substation area that's a little bit, outside of the downtown. So I think I'm going to put it over here. And I kind of don't want to touch this later on. I want to have this here and then kind of keep it here for, and not really. I know a lot of times when you put down, a city and you have some power infrastructure and stuff and you kind of get rid of it later on. I don't really want to get rid of it in this city. I kind of want to keep some of the main bigger, infrastructure services and stuff like the power and the water and everything kind of, just not really change that as the city grows. Keep the big power lines flowing and everything. But for now, we'll just drag out some simple power lines here along the road. Even have we'll put one of these electrical boxes down just in case. And these will probably be deleted later as we expand, but this transformer I want to keep. So we have that. So now let's go ahead and put some water infrastructure. And I typically like to just use these pumping stations. I don't see any reason not to. And these, I like to put them by residential areas just because they're subject to ground pollution. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put one of these kind of by this power transformer over here. I think that'll be a good way to get that working correctly. And then we can also have it connected up to power grid so it'll work properly. And then I know this is not the most cost-effective way to lay out water pipes, but it's the way that I like best, is to actually have them, follow underneath the roads. I think it is the most realistic way to do it. So we'll just have it go into this main road here, and that should take care of that area. And now we're ready for some zoning. So again, we can't do anything special in terms of actually, making this any kind of way that I want it at the moment. So what I'm just going to do is just going to zone out some residential, zone some commercial, and then we'll go from there. But once we unlock our districts, then we can kind of go back and redo some of these areas. And I just don't feel like plopping down a bunch of buildings right now. So I'm just going to kind of let this grow naturally, and then we'll come back to some of these areas a little bit later. And actually, I don't want to zone too much because I don't want a super huge influx of people right at the very beginning. So I'm actually going to de-zone some of these areas and kind of focus on this small space for now, and we'll expand that as needed. But in terms of industry, I think for this right now, I want to, you know, kind of keep some of the farming industry that I anticipate would be around here in the early stages of the city. And I know I can't do that. I don't think I can do that at the moment. I need to wait to get districts so I can actually zone out, you know, some farming and such. But for now, what I can do is just kind of make some areas and sort of anticipate that they will become farms in the future. So just gonna lay out some bigger plots of land with a little bit of small industry. Kind of, I'll just plop down some of these factories here and there, and then we can go back later and kind of change how some of these sit. But for now, this should all work just fine. And I'm actually going to go ahead and zone one. I'll zone a little bit over here too. And this actually around this power transformer, maybe this can be sort of some actual industry here, just a little bit of an industrial complex. All right, and so that should do it for now. So I'm actually going to go ahead and just hit play, and let's see how this develops. All right, 11 people. Getting to night, 14 people. All right, we're getting a little bit of a start here. And in terms of, I actually forgot to do this, and I can't do it yet. I need to get 320 people in here before I can do that. But what I can do is perhaps lower. So we have, oh yeah, we don't need that much electricity or water for that matter. So I'm actually going to bring this way down. We'll bring this probably to about 60%. Shouldn't be a problem. As we get some more people, we'll obviously expand that, get that ready. And oh, I did forget to put any kind of a wastewater treatment. So I'm actually going to go ahead and do that. And I do like to use these inland water treatment plants. I think that they are, you know, a little more realistic. And for these, I like to put them kind of by the water because that's typically where they are. But in this case, I'll probably build another one here later. So just for now, I'm going to put it, I'll put one kind of by our industrial complex here. And obviously not too close to our water pump, but I think I'll place one. Let's put it kind of over here for now. We'll just make a little bit of an area, and that way, if we need to expand this in the future, we can do that. And this can kind of be our little wastewater treatment center. But we'll put it right here for right now. All right, now I'm just going to let this play for a little bit, let these buildings kind of develop, and we'll see what happens. All right, we've just hit a population of 265. And we're actually turning a profit now. So I did decrease the funding for roads all the way down, but I'll bump that up later when we get a little bit more cash inflow. But for now, you know, I'm just going to kind of keep letting things grow. I'm going to keep zoning out this area, and we're just going to see what happens, you know, until we get that first milestone. And there we go. We've done it. So now we can access our taxes, our loans, but this does come at a cost because now we will be forced to provide some additional facilities and resources for the city. So do have to keep that in mind. You know, we have to think about getting some extra cash, putting these down. So let's think about what we're going to do here. So I'm thinking that one of the first things we want to do is we currently have enough electricity with just this area, and until we start expanding out that second city, I'm hesitant to build power plants. So I want to get this area kind of filled out a little bit first, and then we'll move on to our second and third cities, because it's going to cost us a lot of money to build that infrastructure out. And you figure, you know, this area probably would have had, you know, one settlement first, and then other settlements along the way as, you know, new trade routes and things became necessary and people kind of started settling in different places. But I forget that the milestones actually do come with a cash boost. So the next milestone we have is Worthy Village with 650 people. So we're well on our way to doing that. But for the time being, I think I'm going to continue to zone out a little bit more industry around this area here. That way we can kind of anticipate for the future, you know, setting up some farms maybe around here or something like that. And even though not all of this has been zoned yet, you know, it would be helpful to get that kind of set for the future. So we'll leave that for now, since the demand is, you know, a little bit higher for the industrial zone. And we're going to zone out some more residential here. And I know there's a few empty zones here, but that's no big deal. And it looks like our electricity has reached capacity. So we're going to go back into our budget panel and increase that just a little bit. We don't have a ton of electricity, but I do anticipate expanding out that substation a little bit. You know, maybe popping down another one of these around here, maybe getting rid of this or something, because I figure it would be a little bit bigger than just the one substation, especially since this will probably be like a little bit of a power hub for this city. But yeah, so let's leave that for now. Keep focusing on zoning. I anticipate that this here will definitely be a main road. And actually, know what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lay the groundwork for that right now. I'm actually going to put, I know this is kind of thinking ahead and, you know, is not the most realistic, but I think it would be worth it to kind of get a little bit of a layout for what this is going to look like. So I don't zone things and then I'm forced to remove the zoning and such. So I kind of want to, you know, figure that this is going to be a main road later. Going to set the groundwork for that now. And same with this one too. I anticipate that this will also be upgraded to a main road at some point. And it looks like, you know, industry is still quite at a high demand. We obviously don't have offices yet, so I can't zone those. Nor do we have the education to support any office zones at the moment. But yeah, I think I'm gonna, you know, like I said, I want to keep this primarily farmland, but I think I'll, for the sake of, you know, satisfying some of this demand, I am gonna go through and make just a little bit more of a bigger industrial park right here, so that we can get some of that demand satisfied. And also, since we now have taxes, I can bump these up just a little bit. No, I don't like to tax my citizens, you know, with stupid high taxes, but you know, a couple extra %, especially for industry, will not hurt. Make us a few extra bucks. Can't complain. I've heard you can tax it like, you know, 12 or 13% or something and still be fine, but I don't really like to do that because, yeah, I just don't, you know, I'm not a dictator and I don't want my people to, I want my citizens to be happy. So we're gonna not make them pay an arm and a leg to live here. But yeah, so I'm thinking about taking out a loan in a minute, since I am gonna need to provide some garbage services pretty soon. You know, as soon as we unlock that, it's gonna be, they're gonna want to take advantage of those services. And in terms of placing down garbage, I like to put any kind of garbage facility close to a highway. And I actually noticed that these are not actually, this highway is not actually connected to anything over here. So I'm gonna have to fix that later. I'll add some on-ramps and such. For now, it's okay because we have, you know, this connection here and all these people can get off. But as soon as we unlock highways, I am gonna make some additional connections via, you know, this ramp and this ramp here, so that people can get on and off over there. But for now, yeah, I think the garbage area, I anticipate that this industry is going to kind of expand out into this area as well. So I do want to have some garbage right here too. And you know, I'm not a huge fan of landfills, but when you're just starting a city, they're kind of just the cheap effect. I mean, look at this, $4,000 compared to $16,000 for a recycling center. I'll get to that. I'll get to that later. But for now, just putting down a landfill is probably the most logical solution by far. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that. And while those guys get to work, we are going to go back and zone some more residential and commercial, because it looks like people are really clamoring for some more houses and such. And so I want to make this road at least a main road, so I'm going to zone some commercial along this way as well. And I'm debating about whether or not I want to do it here too. I'm thinking that the answer is yes, because what I've seen from kind of some more, you know, Eastern European cities and stuff is that there's not as much space between, you know, like commercial zones and residential zone as there are in some areas in the States, where we have, you know, pretty nice, you know, buffer between any kind of different kind of zone. In a lot of, you know, these areas is a little more kind of on top of each other. So not that it's a bad thing or anything like that, but just something to consider. And so we'll expand out our residential zone by a couple blocks as well. Now I am going to kind of break up the grid at some point so that we can leave room for some, you know, either some city services or some kind of, you know, school or something like that. And so I'm gonna leave some breaks in these grids, and I think that a school over here might be a good idea, since we are going to need that education pretty soon. Let's go ahead and keep zoning out a little bit, see what happens. All right, and so this you know, first start to the city, it's coming along quite nicely. Cannot complain at all. So I think this is probably a good spot to call it for the first episode. Hopefully in the next one, we'll get to our next milestone, start getting some districts. We can start to kind of customize these areas a little bit more to how we want, make everything look way better than it is at the moment. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope y'all are as excited for the series as I am. I'm really looking forward to you know, kind of doing this whole 3-city region type thing and kind of expanding from there, rather than just focusing on one massive city. You know, it'll be kind of fun to go through these milestones and kind of, you know, make this whole region a little bit more built out as we progress through it. But yeah, hope you guys all have a great week. This needs more drums, and I will be back pretty soon for another episode. Stay tuned, take care, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.